In a small, bustling town where hope was often a luxury, a young woman named Adora lived each day with quiet strength. She had little, but her heart overflowed with kindness. One ordinary afternoon, she offered a plate of food to a stranger in dusty clothes, a man who seemed to own nothing. What she didn't know was that this poor stranger carried a secret that could change her life forever. This is a story of kindness, destiny, hidden identity, and the kind of love that money cannot buy. Before we continue, please like this video and subscribe to this channel so you won't miss our next interesting story. Adora balanced the heavy pot of jollof rice on her head as she walked to her usual selling spot by the bus station. The sun was harsh, but she smiled through it. Her late mother used to say, "A kind heart attracts blessings even when pockets are empty." That day, as passengers rushed past, Adora noticed a man sitting quietly under a mango tree. His clothes were dusty, loose, and old. His hair was unkempt, his slippers worn out. But his eyes were calm, gentle, observant. She approached him. "Brother, you look hungry. Come take food. Don't worry about paying." The man lifted his gaze slowly, surprised. "You're giving me food just like that?" "Yes. You need it." He accepted the plate with gratitude, eating slowly like a man who hadn't tasted a good meal in days. He introduced himself simply. "My name is Kai." Adora didn't know she had just fed one of the richest men in the entire state. Kai Nwachukwu, CEO, philanthropist, and heir to a business empire. But today, he wore none of it except a humble smile. The first conversation. Kai looked around at the bustling market, his eyes lingering on Adora as she laughed at a little boy begging for extra rice. He felt a warmth he hadn't felt in years, a genuine connection untarnished by wealth or expectation. "You have a kind heart," he said quietly. "Not many people would do this." Adora smiled modestly. "I don't have much, but if I can make someone's day better, even for a moment, it's enough for me." Kai paused, studying her face. "You're different. Most people only see the surface." Adora tilted her head, curious. "The surface of what?" "Of people. Of life," he replied softly. You see people for who they are. Not what they have, not what they can give you." She felt a strange flutter in her chest but said nothing, returning to serve the next customer. Returning the favor. The next day, Kai returned. Adora noticed him immediately under the same mango tree, sitting quietly with a small bundle of belongings. "Good morning," she greeted, carrying another plate of rice. "Good morning," he replied, smiling faintly. "I remembered yesterday. I didn't have enough to thank you properly." Adora shrugged. "You didn't need to. Just eat." He took the plate and paused, almost shyly. "May I sit with you for a while?" Surprised, Adora nodded. They sat together as she watched him eat, and for the first time, she noticed how his hands moved delicately, as if he wasn't used to hard labor, yet somehow, he fit into this simple setting perfectly. Kai spoke little, but when he did, it was thoughtful. "I've never met someone like you before," he said. "Someone who gives without expecting, who smiles without pretending." Adeora's cheeks warmed. I don't see why people complicate kindness. A subtle bond forms." Days turned into a week. Kai returned almost every morning. Sometimes he helped her carry the heavy pots. Sometimes he swept the area or chatted with her customers, quietly observing Adora as she worked. The villagers began to notice. "Who is that man?" they whispered among themselves. "He doesn't look like he belongs here," some said. Obina, a local youth who had always admired Adora from afar, frowned whenever he saw Kai. "He's strange," Obina said one day, glaring. "And I don't trust him." But Adora ignored him. Something about Kai felt safe, comforting, and real, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. Small moments of joy. One evening, the sun dipping low in the sky, Kai asked, "Can you teach me how to cook like you?" Adora laughed. "You cook? You'll burn everything." "I'm willing to learn," he said, smiling faintly. eyes twinkling in the golden sunlight. She shook her head but agreed. They started with something simple, frying plantains. Kai struggled, getting oil everywhere, almost dropping the pan. Adora laughed so hard she could barely help him. "You're hopeless," she exclaimed between giggles. "I'm trying," he protested. "And I like trying with you." As they laughed, something unspoken passed between them, a connection deeper than words. Hints of the hidden truth. Despite the joy, Kai remained guarded. No one could know his true identity. Not Adora, not the villagers. His real life was a world of luxury, media attention, and endless obligations. Here, under the mango tree, he was just a man seeking simple kindness. But Obinna, ever watchful, began to notice small hints. The way Kai handled money, the way people unconsciously stepped aside for him in the market, the expensive watch glimpsed under his sleeve. "Something is not right," Obinna muttered one day, following Kai at a distance. "That man, he's hiding something. And Adora doesn't even see it." Kai noticed Obinna staring but ignored him, focusing instead on Adora. He didn't want her life complicated by wealth, influence, or gossip. A growing connection. By the end of the week, Adora felt a strange attachment to Kai. There was comfort in his silence, laughter in his rare jokes, and warmth in the way he quietly helped her. One evening, as they sat under the mango tree watching the sun set, Kai said, almost to himself, "You make me feel human again." Adora smiled, unsure what to say. Kai continued softly, "I've had everything, money, power, status, but it never felt like this. It never felt real." Adora reached out, placing a hand over his. "Sometimes, the simplest things are the most real." Kai looked at her hand and then into her eyes, feeling something he had not felt in years. Hope. Kai was not in town by accident. After years of betrayal, false friends, and women chasing his wealth instead of his heart, he had decided he needed a break from his powerful, high-profile world. So he drove into the countryside in a nondescript vehicle, wearing simple, worn clothes, leaving behind the private jets, palaces, and media scrutiny that defined his life. He had no security, no assistance, just himself, the dusty roads, and the quiet peace he so desperately craved. At first, the village seemed strange to him. The rough cobblestone streets, the chatter of market vendors, the scent of fried plantains mixed with the dust of the afternoon. But amidst the chaos, Adora's kindness hit him in a way nothing else ever had. No one had given him anything freely in years. Not a smile, not a conversation, not even a meal. And here she was, offering him food with no expectation, no question, no judgment. From that moment he kept coming back. At first, under the mango tree, he simply watched her as she laughed with the children, sold her rice to hurried commuters, and gently scolded the boys who tried to steal extra food. Why does she have to be so pure? Kai thought one evening as he walked through the quiet paths of the village. He found himself waiting for her every day, craving the simplicity of her world, the warmth of her smile, the way she treated everyone with the same kindness. Sometimes he helped her set up her stall, carrying heavy pots of rice and soup. The villagers noticed immediately, whispering among themselves, "Adora, your new friend likes you." Oh. Adora would wave them off with a gentle smile. "He's just someone who needed help," she said. She didn't realize the villagers were half right. Kai's heart felt something he hadn't felt in years. Something tender, fragile, and terrifying all at once. Every laugh from Adora, every playful scold, every moment she allowed him into her world made the guilt inside him grow. He knew the truth. One day she would discover that he was no ordinary man. She would see the fortune, the wealth, the life he had hidden behind these dusty clothes. And he feared what that would do to their fragile connection. One afternoon he asked hesitantly, "Adora, can I try cooking with you?" Adora looked at him, raising an eyebrow. "You cook? You don't even know how to hold a knife properly." "I want to learn," he said softly, eyes earnest. "I want to understand your world." So, under the scorching sun, they cooked together. Kai struggled with the firewood, almost dropping the pot of soup more than once. Adora laughed so hard that tears ran down her cheeks. Kai, this is village cooking. You have to pay attention to the fire, the spice, everything. I'm paying attention, he protested, though smoke curled around his face and he waved at it helplessly. Little by little, Adora taught him. She showed him how to chop onions without crying, how to fry plantains evenly, how to season the rice so it would smell like home. And little by little, Kai started to understand. Not just the cooking but her world. The world of effort, struggle, and joy that no amount of money could replicate. At night, lying under the stars in his small rented room, Kai thought, she believes I'm ordinary. She doesn't know I'm a billionaire. If she finds out, will she still be the same? Will she feel betrayed? Will she stop laughing at my clumsy cooking? Will she stop seeing me as me? Every day, the worry gnawed at him, yet he couldn't stop coming back. For the first time in years, he felt alive. And every day, something deeper began to bloom, a connection that was growing quietly but fiercely in his chest. A hope that maybe, just maybe, kindness and love could exist in its purest form, without money, without power, without pretense. But Kai knew the truth. One day, all of this, her laughter, her trust, their bond, would collide with reality. And he wasn't sure either of them would survive it. Not everyone in the village was pleased with Adora's new friendship. Her life had always been simple and predictable, and suddenly, this mysterious stranger had entered her world, capturing her attention in a way that drew curious and envious eyes. Obinna, a young man who had secretly admired Adora for years, could not hide his irritation. He had watched her from a distance, hoping one day she might notice him, and now this stranger, dusty, quiet, yet strangely confident, had appeared and stolen her attention. One evening, as Adora swept the area around her stall after a long day of selling food, Obinna approached her, his jaw tight with jealousy. "Why are you wasting time with a poor stranger?" he asked sharply, eyes darting toward Kai, who was busy helping a child balance a plate of rice. Adora frowned, her hands pausing mid-sweep. "He's kind, Obinna. And he respects me. Isn't that what matters?" Obinna's eyes narrowed. Kind, respect, or is it something else? That man, he's hiding something. Mark my words, Adora. You don't know him like you think you do. Adora shook her head, dismissing his warning. She had grown used to Obinna's protective teasing over the years and wasn't about to let jealousy cloud her judgment. The city rumors. Meanwhile, far away in the bustling city, the name Kai Nwachukwu dominated headlines and social media trends. Billionaire Kai Nwachukwu missing for days. Some speculated that he had traveled abroad in secret. Others whispered darker theories. Kidnapping, threats from competitors, or a sudden disappearance from the public eye. Security teams combed every known location tied to him, yet he remained untraceable. His absence fueling rumors and speculation. Obinna, who occasionally checked his phone and local news updates, began piecing things together. Something about the stranger in Adora's life didn't add up. Suspicion builds. One afternoon, curiosity and suspicion got the better of Obinna. He decided to follow Kai from a distance, hiding behind stalls and trees as he observed him. Kai walked calmly through the village market, greeting people politely, carrying a basket of vegetables, and even helping a child tie his sandal. But when he paused to check his phone, Obinna's eyes widened. The device was sleek, expensive, and clearly not something an ordinary man in the village could afford. He noticed subtle details. The way the villagers unconsciously stepped aside when he moved. His ease in navigating situations with quiet authority. Obinna whispered to himself, his jealousy tinged with fear. Something isn't right. That man, he's not what he seems. And Adora, she doesn't see it. Meanwhile, Kai himself was unaware that Obinna had begun observing him. His thoughts were elsewhere. On Adora, her laugh, the way she made him feel alive in ways wealth never had. She thinks I'm just a poor stranger, Kai thought. I can't let her know yet. Not until I understand what this is. What I feel for her. The village reacts. Even the villagers began to notice subtle changes. They whispered among themselves. Adora's stranger friend. He's different. I've never seen someone carry themselves like that here. Do you think he's hiding something? Adora, immersed in her work, didn't notice the growing curiosity, or the jealousy brewing in Obina's eyes. But Kai sensed it. Every sideways glance, every whisper made him more cautious. He wanted nothing more than to protect Adora from the truth, even if it meant keeping his secret buried forever. Yet, the closer he got to her, the harder it became to remain invisible. Every kind gesture, every shared laugh, every moment of trust he built carried the weight of a looming revelation. And somewhere deep down, he knew that sooner or later the truth, too big to hide, would explode. The afternoon sun beat down lazily over the bus station, casting long shadows across Adora's stall. She and Kai were packing up after another busy day, the air filled with the scent of jollof rice and fried plantains. Suddenly, a deep rumble interrupted the quiet chatter of the villagers. Dust swirled as 3 sleek black SUVs screeched to a halt in front of the market. Doors flung open, and men in crisp suits hurried toward them, their shoes clicking sharply on the cobblestones. "Sir, we finally found you," one shouted, voice urgent. Adora froze, her hand still on the lid of a pot. She had never seen such vehicles in her village. The villagers gasped and stepped back, forming a tight circle around the scene. Some whispered in awe, others in fear. Obina, who had been lingering nearby, smirked smugly. He had suspected something all along, and now the truth seemed poised to explode. Kai, standing beside her, looked calm on the surface, but his chest tightened with anxiety. Slowly, deliberately, he removed his dusty cap. His plain shirt now seemed ordinary against the backdrop of black SUVs, but the air itself seemed to shift. The villagers blinked. The whispers grew louder. "Kai Nwachukwu," someone breathed, disbelief coloring their tone. "The billionaire. Here. In our village." Adora stepped back instinctively, her heart pounding. The man she had laughed with, shared her humble meals with, and watched struggle with firewood, was not who she thought he was. You lied to me. All this time." Her voice trembled, a mixture of hurt, confusion, and disbelief. Kai's eyes softened. "I didn't lie to hurt you. I needed one person, just one, who could see me, not my money." Adora's hands trembled. She clutched the edge of her stall as tears began to form. "But you made me believe you were poor." Kai stepped closer, his voice earnest. "I was afraid you would treat me differently if you knew. I didn't want our connection to be about wealth. I wanted it to be real." Her heart twisted. She wanted to hate him for deceiving her, yet everything she felt, everything about his kindness, his laughter, his awkward attempts at cooking, pulled her toward him. This was the kindest man she had ever known, yet he had hidden the truth. The crowd pressed closer, curious and buzzing with speculation. Villagers whispered, "He's rich. That's unbelievable. The one she fed. The one who helped her cook. I knew something was strange about him." Obina's smirk widened. "Told you so," he muttered under his breath. Kai took a deep breath, steadying himself against the rising tension. "Adora, care about you. Your kindness changed me. I don't want to lose you. Not now, not ever." Silence hung between them. The world seemed to stop. The clatter of pots, the distant chatter of vendors, even the hum of insects faded. Adora's mind raced. Could she trust him after this? Could she see the man behind the money, the man who had been gentle, awkward, and real? Finally, she took a step back, her voice barely above a whisper. I need time. I need time to understand." The man behind the disguise. Kai's shoulders slumped slightly, but he nodded, respecting her wishes. He knew he had broken a trust, and now he had to prove it, through patience, honesty, and love. The SUVs idled in the background, drivers checking their watches and scanning the area. But for Adora and Kai, the chaos of wealth and power felt distant, insignificant. What mattered now was trust, honesty, and the fragile bond they had begun to build. Adora walked away slowly, holding back tears, her mind a whirlwind of questions. She needed to process everything, the deception, the truth, the connection they shared. And Kai. He watched her go, heart heavy but hopeful. One day he thought she would see the truth. Not the wealth, not the power, but the man who had fallen for her, genuinely, completely. For now he waited, patiently, and silently vowed. He would not give up on the one person who had changed his life forever. For days Kai tried to reach out, but Adora avoided him, not out of anger but out of fear. Her mind raced constantly. Was she truly good enough for a billionaire? Would his world swallow her? Was everything between them, the laughter, the long talks, the small, tender moments, real or just a fleeting illusion? The villagers noticed the change. Adora moved slower, quieter, more pensive. Whispers floated around. She looks worried. Something is wrong with Adora and her stranger friend. But she ignored them. The questions inside her heart were louder than any gossip. A morning of courage. One early morning, just as the sun began to rise, casting golden streaks across the village, Kai arrived at her stall before she had even set up. "Adora, please listen," he said softly, his voice carrying the gentle weight of sincerity. She hesitated, her hands frozen on the pot she was about to wash. Her heart raced, unsure if she should trust him again so soon. Kai stepped closer, keeping a careful distance, and gently offered her a wrapped package. I thought maybe this would help," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Adora took the package cautiously, noticing how even his fingers trembled slightly. She unwrapped it to find a brand new set of cooking utensils, carefully arranged, alongside a small envelope. "No money inside," Kai added quickly, reading her expression. "I know you don't want that. I want you to have something meaningful." Inside the envelope was a handwritten letter. Not type. Not signed with titles or wealth. Just Kai, pouring out his heart in black ink on plain paper. A letter. Adora unfolded the letter, her eyes scanning the words slowly, absorbing each one. "The day you fed me, you fed more than my stomach. You fed a part of my soul that wealth could never reach. I want to walk beside you, not as a billionaire, but as a man who found something priceless. Adora, you are that treasure." Her eyes softened, her lips trembled. For the first time in days, the tension in her chest began to ease. "I liked you when I thought you were poor," she whispered, her voice catching with emotion. "And I still like you now, but I need honesty." Kai took her hands gently in his touch warm and grounding. "From today, no more secrets. Promise. Just me. And you." A moment of reconnection. Slowly, her heart began to let go of fear. Slowly, she allowed herself to trust him again. She looked around at the familiar bustle of the market, the vendors calling out, the sizzle of frying oil, the rich smell of spices mixing with fresh vegetables. Yet in that moment, all of it faded into the background. The world had narrowed down to just them. Adora smiled, the kind of smile that lit up her whole face and made Kai's heart ache with happiness. It was the smile that had first drawn him to her, the smile that had made him stay in this town longer than he had ever planned. In the middle of the morning breeze, with a scent of cooking oil, fresh peppers, and mango trees around them, Kai leaned in and kissed her forehead gently. It was tender, respectful, and filled with the promise of a future built on honesty and love. Adora closed her eyes, savoring the moment. She had finally let go of her doubts, letting love take its rightful place. Kai whispered softly, almost to himself, "This is just the beginning." Adora opened her eyes, smiling at him. "Then let's begin together." The villagers watched from a distance, sensing a shift in the air, though they could not see the depth of what had passed between them. Some smiled knowingly. Others whispered about the love they had always hoped for Adora. For Kai and Adora, The journey had only just begun. A journey built not on wealth or status, but on kindness, honesty, and the rare, quiet magic of two hearts meeting in the right place at the right time. And as the sun climbed higher in the sky, warming the village with golden light, they stood hand in hand, ready to face whatever the world might bring together. As Adora and Kai stood hand in hand, the golden sunlight bathing the village in warmth, their hearts were full, but their story was far from over. For while love had found its way in the quiet village, secrets, challenges, and unexpected twists were still waiting just beyond the horizon. And that is where part 2 begins. If you've been captivated by Adora and Kai's journey so far, don't miss what happens next. Like this video if you want to see their love story unfold even further. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to watch part 2, where the challenges of wealth, envy, and hidden truths will test their love like never before. Trust us. You won't want to miss the next chapter of this incredible story.